Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of creating a ninja in Blender. So I know in the first part I said we won't start with the face, but I changed my mind and yeah, I think it would be best to start with the face since the rest of the body would actually be a kind of suit. Um, yeah, so let's get started. We're going to grab these two faces here and hit I to inset and immediately go to the tool settings here, and we're going to select or unselect boundary. So I'm a bit lost here, but we'll unselect boundary just to get the center edges not insetting, just like that. And yeah, I think we'll scale it down just a little bit here. Something very important with your base mesh is to just try and get it as good as possible and to keep it low geometry for as long as possible. It just makes it easier to edit. And in this stage you want to just try and form your shape as much as possible. It won't be perfect, it's going to look blocky and stuff, but the closer you get it during this stage, the better it's going to look once you bump up or add a subdivision. So yeah, here I'm just enabling proportional editing and trying to pull out a bit of a chin. It's a bit annoying me that the body is getting in the way, but we'll sort that out soon. For now I'm just getting a nice round shape here on the face since it's going to be a mask. Yeah, so from the side here, obviously we want to squash the face inwards because it's looking like a ball at the moment. Besides that, I'm just smoothing out some points here and there as well by just moving them to try and give it a less blocky shape. So here we are where we're going to get into a problem. I want to bring the jaw in and the body's bothering me, so I'm going press Z to go into wireframe, select the whole bottom side with box select, so B for the shortcut. Here I'm trying to select the rest, it was bothering me, so I go into face mode and shift alt select to get an edge loop of faces, press H to hide it, go back into vertex mode, and now we can, with proportional editing, do our editing. And here you can see that our vertices were going away from each other, so we just enable clipping here in the modifiers tab. Yeah, so we're just squashing the head in here with proportional editing. It's going to change up the base shape a bit around the neck, but we'll go and edit that separately after this. Yeah, so the head is taking a bit more of a head shape, I'd say. And once again, I'm just cleaning up some geometry here and there. You'll see below the head, after doing this proportional editing, that the, the vertex or vertices aren't spaced really well. Yeah, so here we're just trying to shape a bit the back of the head. Nothing serious. It's a cartoon character. He's got a suit and stuff. So yeah, here you can see what it has done to the neck. It's a really easy fix. Grab the vertices or vertex and hit G twice to move it along the normal of any perpendicular edge. So any edge it's connected to, if you double tap G and go into the direction of this edge, it would move along that normal. I hope it makes sense. It helps you move vertices around along your model instead of having to choose an axis like X, Y, or Z. Yeah, and in this case I am using the axis. I'm scaling it out on the Y, or I'm scaling it out on the X. You see, I'm just trying to make it round again, and yeah, just a good neck shape. So yeah, this always takes a bit of time, but like I said, it's really important. You really want your base mesh to look good from the start before you start adding details or subdividing to see how it would look or anything like that. I know a lot of people do work with subdivision straight ahead, but I prefer not to. So here I'm selecting these center faces. I hit spacebar to search and search flatten. Yeah, it created a bit of a thing here. It's nothing serious. I just had to take this vertex that was overlapping somehow and pull it back in, and everything else was fixed. But it wasn't really necessary, this step. I just thought I needed to flatten this part before carrying on, but I'll finally end up making it more round again. So yeah, it was a bit of a waste of time, but with models like this where you don't really follow full-on reference and stuff, you kind of come up with things as you go. Um, yeah, if you're a good artist and can draw, of course you can draw your own models and stuff. So here, as you can see, I just went and had a quick look at a reference I had up just to get a good idea of how this mask is shaped around the face. And yeah, so it's just on the side of my screen, and I look at it now and then just to have a good idea. And yeah, so here we're just grabbing this part and shaping all these vertices to get the shape of the mask. And yeah, we'll obviously shape it a bit from all sides to not have this weird pointy vertex on the corners. You'll see from a 3/4 view, it really has a pointy shape, and we want to avoid that. So we'll be editing that soon. For now, I'm just editing everything around it slowly, trying to make it look neat. And you want your faces to be more or less the same size all around the body, actually. Of course, there are some places where you choose to have extra loops or extra geometry, and that would be around bending areas. But with this model, we're not really concerned about that because we're going to use our skin we made, so the first base mesh we made before editing it, as a deform cage. So yeah, we'll get to that later. So I'm just adding a few edge loops here and there. Once again, it's just working as you go, thinking about things. For example, if this was one big face around the foot there, when I put a subdivision surface, the geometry won't be equal, and this part would have much less geometry. So yeah, I'm just playing around with it, making it look a bit neater. And yeah, then I think we should move on again back to the face. Okay, so here by the leg, I'm just making it more clear that this part would be the knee, by pushing the back part in a bit with proportional editing and bringing the kneecap just out slightly. And yeah, then I'm gonna take these edges around it and kind of shape it, I don't know, in a way that could help the deformation once we've reached it. And another reason I'm doing this is to help the shape of the knee look a bit more natural. And if these edges were higher up and lower down, the knee cap would obviously be really big. There won't be enough geometry to hold it in its place. And yeah, I'll obviously add some more geometry later on to really make the knee stand out a bit more. So yeah, I think we'll do the same on the elbows after this. It's really important to get these pieces looking nice and making sense in some ways, especially when you come to read here. A good example would be this. Sorry guys, my microphone cut out. So yeah, I'm just adding an edge loop here and scaling the thigh up a bit. But yeah, what I was saying is a good example would be the edge right through the knee there. when you place your bones, your um, pivot point of the bone would go directly on that edge, giving you really good bending and stuff on your character. So here we're going to do the same thing to the elbow quickly. Um, yeah, these things don't really take that much time. I know it looks like I'm really slow here, but um, I didn't record my voice at the same time, so I tried to work in a way to allow me some time to speak and try to explain some things as we go. Um, so yeah, I'm doing exactly the same thing as the knee down there. Just trying to make it more clear of where this elbow is. Um, and yeah, that's really about it. It just helps you out at the end. Um, we would most likely go into sculpting a little bit just to add finer details later. And this could obviously be done then, but if you already start showing these parts with your base mesh, when you go to modeling it, sculpting, it's much easier for you because you can already see where you need to sculpt, and yeah, it just makes things easier. So here I'm just gonna create the forearm, moving that edge up, um, scaling it up a bit, and just moving it slightly, giving it some angle to it. Um, and yeah, I think that's good for now actually. It's funny how you could start playing with your model and moving points around. It would never stop. You never stop editing your model, and it becomes a bit of a problem actually. You need to know when to just move on from that now, because yeah, it seems like there's always something that can be changed. So here we're gonna grab these faces now, and I think yeah, we hit E for extrude, and we're gonna extrude this inwards. I realized at the end of my model that I might have overdone this extrude, but I wanted to give myself enough space, and of course we can edit it afterwards. That's just to let you guys know that it's not necessary to go this deep. Um, but yeah, now I'm just trying to figure out here which faces I'm gonna grab around the eyes area to define the mask a bit better. I want kind of the mouthpiece to seem like it's folding into the rest, going around the head and attaching to the body. Anyway, so got a bit confused up there. I wanted to add some more edges, but I don't want to add edges now, so I left that, and I'm coming to edit just the chest. I found this edge line defining a bit the chest area to be a bit low. Um, so yeah, I'm just editing a bit. Here, edited a bit too much and realized that I shouldn't be doing this. And I go and undo it and realize that I'm going too far for now. I shouldn't be doing this kind of editing right now. So just take another good look around, and I think we will bounce straight back to the face. Oh, we might edit the arms and the legs a bit. So yeah, I accidentally added some vertex painting there. Okay, so what I've decided here on the arm is that the whole part will be a kind of suit, and this part just before the hands is going to be like really shrunken in, like it's his skin and or his body, and he's quite skinny, and he's going to have like a kind of roping wrap effect around this area, and then he's going to have his hand that would kind of have a glove surrounding it. And yeah, we'll do a similar kind of thing around the feet. So here I'm just changing the gizmo to local and trying out normal. For this case, normal was better, so I'm using normal. Local and normal would be your best things to use. Sometimes one would give a better result than the other. Here I'm enabling snapping and changing it to vertex. So now when I snap and just go onto a vertex, it would snap that whole edge loop in line with that vertex. Switch snapping off again, and yeah, now we've got this bottom part of the suit around the arms kind of defined. Um, and yeah, we should be doing the same for the legs. So here we go, it's going to be the exact same thing, adding a holding edge loop. Okay, here, yeah, so I add an edge loop where I want it to be, and then I'll add another edge loop right up against that. So when I use Alt S to scale this in, sorry, I'm using shrink and fatten, so Alt S, not normal scale, to bring this in. It's like an extrusion because I added that extra small edge there. So instead of going and choosing those faces and hitting extrude and scaling it in, I just added that holding edge and shrink it down. So this is looking too narrow for me, a bit like someone who lost their leg and they've got a wooden stump to replace it. I'm choosing the bottom vertices, and with proportional editing, I'm scaling it and hitting Shift Z to not scale it on the Z axis, just to make it look a bit better, this part. And yeah, so that's most of the bodysuits, or base of the bodysuits completed. Starting to look a bit like a ninja. And yeah, so now we go back to the mask thing. I don't know if I figured it out yet at this stage, but I figured out how I'm going to do this without adding any edge loops, just selecting certain faces around the head and extruding it outwards. Yeah, so I think I kind of came to understand this now. Yeah, so there we go. I'm gonna select these faces like that. I'm as well gonna select the first two around the neck, so actually the whole neck area. So I don't know why I'm not using Shift Alt Select to select all the faces there. And here I realized there's a point that I'd like to manipulate some more. You see the point on the corner of the eyes, and I'm thinking, oh, I just selected all of this. Anyway, you've got to do it, so I'll go and grab this vertex and change it, and I think it worked out pretty well. It gave it a more rounder look. I was happy with that, but I realized it narrowed things down in there which bothered me. Like an idiot, I'm trying to edit the same vertex I just moved and realized that's not working out. So, smart kid on the block, I grab the inner vertex and move it inwards, which makes more sense. Sorry. Okay, so now that that part's looking a bit better, okay, edited some more, fine. We go back to selecting these faces, so yeah, now I'm using Alt Shift Select. Wireframe Control right click to drag the selection, and yeah, so I hit E for extrude and Alt S once again So something weird's happening here, and I realized I have the snapping on. So turn snapping off, Alt S again, and there we go. Now we're getting this extra extrusion. The point of this is to make it look like he has an extra fold around his head, and that the piece around his mouth is going like into that part kind of, and this part around the neck, just, I don't know, I'll kind of free flow on this design. And yeah, later on for the front of the suit we kind of add a zip kind of effect. Yeah, I know it's weird to have a zip opening and closing a ninja suit, but anyway. So here I added another edge loop, and I'm using Alt S to kind of bring that inwards, just to give that effect when I put a subsurf that this part is going in, or that there's a crease, because it's not one piece, or you see, just to try and sell that effect. Here I'm just rounding out the chin a bit, made a really sharp shape there. And yeah, just gonna edit some points here. This part, when I used the shrink, it seemed to go more down instead of inwards. But yeah, it's getting along. I know it looks a bit weird at the moment. It might look like a kid going to space. But yeah, it's really gonna start to make more sense. So here I'm insetting the part around where the eyes would be, and this time I want boundary because I'm creating the eye sockets now. So yeah, this is going to be once again like with the body. We're going to take vertices and move them around quite a lot. You're going to think you're done, and you're going to come back again later and move some more around just to get the shape you like for your eyes. You know, it's hard to imagine that this part could make your eyes, but it would. So I decided I wanted an extra edge loop first, so I'm just grabbing these vertices one by one, and with the G twice option, I'm moving them closer to the vertice perpendicular with them. And yeah, then I go back to this phase, insert it again, and now this will become my eyes. Sorry, I'm just having a sip of water. So yeah, we're going to vertex mode, and the shortcuts I use for that, by the way, is Control Tab while you're in edit mode, and you can select vertex, edge, or face. So yeah, now it's all about you and how you want your eyes to be, or you can follow along with me. Like I said, I know that I went back and forth a lot, changing the eye. As well, eventually I thought of the rig, and that we might set up some eye bones, and yeah, so for that reason, it's best to try and think about how your eyes are going to close and things like that. Okay, so here I'm adding an edge loop right around that part that I really want to be kind of the eyelids. And yeah, then I'm gonna grab this edge loop I just made around it, and I'm gonna pull it out forwards to give some depth around the eye. And then we will select the other vertices below that and just move them around to shape kind of, yeah, the eyelid that's gonna close. And then we'll start working on the inside, just insetting again and pulling it back. And finally we'll add the eye just to make sure everything is working out here. So yeah, we're just pulling around vertices. In some cases I use GG just to move it perpendicular, and in other cases I use just normal sorry, normal G for grab and move, and sometimes I would lock it into an axis, like when you see the white line pop up, locking it to the z-axis, or okay, in this case it's not the z-axis, it's the normal axis, because I've changed it from global to normal on the gizmo. Here I'm playing around to try and get some shape on what would seem to be the forehead, and realizing that it's most likely not the best moment to be doing that, and I think I still leave it and come back and fix this up later. Yeah, so like a dumbass, I'm trying to bring this vertex down, but it's impossible because it's just gonna flip with itself, since it would be passing its other points, and it's a quad, so it will just flip and look terrible. So here, shaping around the inside of the eye and a bit like a bump for the nose. And yeah, obviously the shape of the eyes aren't completely there yet, they're more flattish, I think. We'll get to shaping that a bit later. And now we can finish off the inside, so I'm gonna insert it and pull it back. And then I'm gonna do a whole bunch of other stupid stuff here at the moment, just to try and make it look better. It's all unnecessary. You don't need to do this with scaling, and just insert it, pull it back, scale it in a bit, insert it one more time, pull it back, scale it in a little bit, and forget about it, because we're gonna come and remove some of these faces right at the end when we're happy with how it's looking. So yeah. Sorry, I had to get a cup of coffee quick. Anyway, so here I tried to make this into a circle by selecting the edges, pressing the W shortcut to go to the specials menu. With the loop tools add-on enabled, which comes with Blender, you have a few options to make it circle or relax, but it didn't work out. So anyway, we're going back. Like I said before, skip all this crap I'm trying here and just insert, take it back, insert, take it back. Okay. So now we've got the eye sockets in. I'm just gonna edit a bit the eye around it. And once again, here I'm thinking a bit about how I want to rig this, and that I want it to close well. And yeah, this obviously won't be the last time I'm editing this. There's still going to be a lot of back and forth with this part of the eye. And yeah, I know this seems time consuming, and you could do it faster with sculpting, but whenever you go to sculpting, you always need to retopologize, and yeah, this is just a method of creating characters without having to worry about retopology and still being able to sculpt some details onto your model. So yeah, I looked from further away at my character, and I found the eyes to be a bit small. So I'm just trying to see how I could make this a bit bigger and still allow it to make sense. Sorry about that. So yeah, I'm taking the corner eye a bit up, I think it would have been smart to rotate it a bit as well, but it's okay. It worked out at the end. Yeah, I'm wasting a lot of unnecessary time here, but yeah, I was just trying to figure out how to make this look good. I realized this um, vertices to be so high up from the corner of the eye um, would make the bones flip a bit and might be hard to get decent animation. I know we're gonna smooth this out and stuff, but like I said, the, the closer your shape is in its base form to the original shape you want, um, the better things are gonna work out for you. You know, you're gonna put a subdivision surface and things are just gonna look how it should. And yeah, once you get to the animation and rigging and all that, it's going to deform well and you won't have too much problems. So I'm just naming this quickly because we're going to add the eyes now. I'm deleting this sun object. Okay, so we're not doing the eyes yet. I'm going to add the zip kind of effect for the ninja's suit. For this I have to add geometry in the center here, and because whenever you add geometry in the eye in one area, you have to do it everywhere else to make it equally subdivided. And yeah, so I went and did that. Here, dissolving this edge here because we don't really need it anymore, and then I'll just move the one above a bit lower and the one below a bit higher to get the same effect as before. And here, once again, I'm gonna be wasting precious time. I want to shape the zip kind of nicely before I start to extrude or figure out how I'm gonna make the rest of it. I'm bringing this closer to the center so that I'm capable of extruding it out later. Okay, so a bit of a brain freeze here. Thinking, I got lost while moving the vertices, thinking of how I'd like to make this zip. So I was using the shrink Alt S shortcut here and it wasn't working out too well. So then I just used the normal scale option and changing the gizmo to I think it's the world, in this case, our local, and pulling it downwards to get this, to still have this overhang that I had before. And back to moving the vertices around. Didn't want the zip that thick, so I'm going back and making it thinner. Around the end of the zip, which should be around here, this vertice I'm moving now, I wanted it to be a bit more narrow than the top part. I don't know if I finally end up doing that, but it's something we can edit later on. So yeah, here I'm trying to think, I want the zip to go up into this piece, so I need to make some modifications, but eventually I decide that the zip is gonna go underneath this piece and we're gonna edit this piece more like it's hanging a bit more down and over the rest of the zip. kind of like covering the part he pulled to open the zip up. So just ignore all these edge loops and extrusions I've been doing now. And yeah, we're gonna add this edge loop. This is where the zip is going to begin. And then we're gonna make some modifications here because we don't want these vertices so close to each other. And I began on the wrong vertice. I'll fix this mistake later. You can start right on the top, the first vertice on top, and bring that down. Not in the center of the suit, just the one before the one I started on. Bring that one down a bit as well. And yeah, there's a bit too much geometry in that part of the suit, but we'll get there later and fix that. So I don't want that last piece, it's too far down. And yeah, so here we just give a small extrusion and we're gonna scale it on the X. So I scale it on all axes at first, and then I try and lock it on a few, and finally I just scale it on the X axis a little bit. So we add a holding edge loop in there, just to make this part not completely round, to give it a kind of square shape since it's going to be a zip. And then I'm insetting the top faces with I, just once again to keep that part a bit more square. And here we go, now we're going to make an eye. So we're inserting a spear. I'm going to edit mode, rotate it on the X 90, go into the right view. Okay, go into edit mode, scale it down just a little bit. Here I hit the slash key to go into local view, only seeing the sphere. Edit mode, we select this first group of faces in the front here. And with proportional editing, we're gonna push this back. Yeah, I had one vertex too much here, or one edge loop. So we're gonna pull this back, and just so that you can see it going inwards a little bit to give a slight angle to the iris. And yeah, now we're gonna add some holding loops. So one right there where the pupil is going to be, we select both. I hit GG there, but we're going to hit scale. So you can hit SS and scale it down as long as you're in an orthographic view, I think. Add another edge loop to the top. We're actually going to add a second one to that eventually. I don't know why I didn't do that now. And yeah, so now we're going to grab that vertex, or go into face selection, select all of those. I used the C selection to select all of that, extrude it inwards, scale it down, and here I inserted that to add another edge loop. And now it's just to shape this a bit. I'm scaling that down, but it's wrong. I'm going to scale it up again. Ignore this step of trying to edit this vertex to smooth it out. We're just going to scale this back up again. That would be smooth enough, actually. And yeah, so that part would now be the pupil. We're going to take that backwards as well. And to make this eye a bit better, I go in and select every second edge here. As you can see, every second edge. And the reason for this is I'm going to dissolve it and turn the center part into quads. And I'm going to reduce geometry on the rest of the eye as well. so that I can add a subdivision surface and just make it look better. And this just turns that area into quads instead of triangles, and you don't get this funny pinching effect. So I'm going to do the same thing to the rest of the eye. Maybe it would have been smarter to have just started with less geometry on the eye in the first place. But anyway, this works out. I'm not grabbing the center of the eye because I need this edge loop in the future. And I'd mark seams there as well. So go back to every second edge loop here. I can see I already made a mistake on top, and this causes me to have some confusion. And yeah, I think it takes me a second or two to figure this out. Yeah, so here I figured out something. Okay, I still haven't figured it out. Here, see that there's a problem, so I undo it, and I'm trying to see where this edge is that I messed up. Your eyes can get a bit confused in this moment. As you can see, I passed the first one, I see the second error, and that's how I end up fixing it. And there we go. And I come and do the same thing here than what I did in the center of the eye, of the pupil, sorry, to turn this into quads instead of triangles. And yeah, there we've got our low poly eye at a subdivision surface. Okay, so I'm not completely happy with how round that part is, so it's where I come and add another edge loop in there just to hold that a bit better, and same on the inside just to give a nice edge there as well. And yeah, that's just a very basic eye, and now we can scale it and try and place it in, and once again edit the eye of the character, or yeah, just the eye of the character to fit the shape of the eye. That's so wrong. Eyelids of the character, that's the word I was looking for. Okay, so you can see the eye is really deep in there. It takes a bit of playing with the eye to get this right. Here I scale it a bit on the Z just to get it straight. It's very easy to make your character look squint, so don't think too straight is straight. It's actually going to be a bit more towards the center. I mean, the center of the head. And yeah, so now I go and start editing the eye with proportional editing on and locking it into an axis this time. The way I do that is I hold in the middle mouse wheel after grabbing something, and when I click the middle mouse wheel down and move my mouse towards a direction, it would lock it into that axis. So I hope that makes sense. You press G for grab, hold in your middle mouse wheel, and then choose your axis. So slide your wheel up would be Z, slide your wheel right would be X or Y, depending on what view you're in. And yeah, so here I'm shaping the eye. Since we've got more geometry this time after adding the edge loops before, it makes it a bit easier. And yeah, I keep going into wireframe mode to grab the necessary vertices. And yeah, and we're just going to shape this eye as nice as we can, and then we'll go back to the eyeball, placing it well, and maybe I think I'd scale it up a bit more, a little bit more forward. And yeah, then we'll carry on editing the head a bit before adding a subdivision surface and finishing some detail and edits. Okay, so this tutorial's been about 45 minutes. When I recorded the whole thing, it took me about an hour and a half to finish this part. The only next part would be the hands, and then we start preparing the mesh for basic sculpting. And actually, once it's prepared, it would be the mesh we use for the animation as well. So yeah, I'm gonna stop this video now. There's gonna be a part 3 where we finish this up. It's also gonna be about 45 minutes. Really sorry, I'm trying to keep it 30 minutes long, but yeah, modeling characters and going all the way takes some time. So yeah, see you guys in part 3.